Welcome, everybody, to another episode 2, Jeff,
Deuces.
of our podcast. Last podcast came out last week. Go figure. This podcast coming out, I don't know what day it is you're listening to it on, but what's the date today, Jeff?
August 3rd.
August 3rd.
August 5th.
August 5th. Jeff's living 2 days in the past. August 5th is when we're recording this. So August 5th, 2026. So whatever you guys listen to it, that's when we recorded it. So anyway, we had a big weekend, Jeff. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all wrestling.
It was a busy wrestling weekend.
My fiance's favorite time of the year. She loves it when there's wrestling on every single day. She doesn't.
She had just recuperated from got over WrestleMania, and now we hit her up with a 4-day weekend for SummerSlam.
Yeah. So what'd you think of this weekend, Jeff?
It was, interesting. It started off with, I know Friday night, we can talk a little bit about SmackDown. Not a whole lot to talk about. It was just pretty much a filler show to make way for SummerSlam. But the one thing that did matter, that did affect SummerSlam, was the Lash Legend versus Julia match. And I know you've got thoughts on that. You've been complaining about that all weekend. So what happened? Why would they bury Julia like that?
We're going to talk about another one of my, I don't want to say favorite wrestlers, but another wrestler I like when we get to the Raw part of this. I'm wondering, Jeff, maybe WWE listens to our podcast.
Maybe.
Or our YouTube show, which you can get on YouTube at WrestleStop. And they're like, who does Joe like? Let's bury them on the next episode, because Julia getting buried like she did is just criminal, right? That should not happen. I turned my ringer down. I don't know why. I can still hear it going off. I'm okay with Lash Legend winning, right? That's not the problem.
Yeah.
The problem I'm having is the manner of which she won. Julia is a former champion. She was big before she came to WWE, before she came to NXT. She was the champion in NXT, I think. She came over. She's a 2-time U.S. champion in the women's division. And then she goes up against Lash Legend, who is widely considered still green in the business. She has the size and the athletic ability and stuff like that, but she's a little rough in the ring still. She kind of just uses her size to bully people around, which is fine.
So real quick, while you were talking, I decided to look this up. How long do you think that match was?
Minute and 30 seconds?
A minute 59, not even 2 minutes. And I was joking over the weekend. We were talking about this, saying that I wasn't even, not that I wasn't paying attention. I was sitting there, but I wasn't into the match yet, because when I'm watching Raw and SmackDown, the match doesn't end before the first commercial break. It's modern wrestling of what you're watching it. So when that match ended, like in my head, I was flabbergasted. I hadn't even started paying attention to the match because I was waiting for the first commercial break. That's inevitable 2 minutes into every match.
Didn't even get to 2 minutes, Jeff.
1 minute, 59 seconds.
Didn't even get to the first commercial break.
You like to joke around some of my favorite wrestlers or some of the jobbers. I love Otis. I love Tozawa. And they're around to eat losses. Even someone like, we mentioned Chelsea Green winning her championship at SummerSlam was a huge deal. She's acknowledged on the Unreal show that she knows she's around to be goofy. She's around to do whatever they want her to do. She's around to eat losses, eat pins, to fall off a ladder into a dumpster. Anything goofy they want. She ate a freaking birthday cake, Whatever they need her to do, she's willing to do. And they rewarded her. They reward those stars once in a while when they've got popularity by giving them a championship, which was awesome for Chelsea to do this weekend. But Julia just doesn't seem that level of wrestler. Like, they brought her in. They gave her the U.S. championship, not once, but twice. And yes, they also did it with Chelsea. But Chelsea she was even gimmicky in defending it. The secret Hervis was always there. She never won clean. Julia won most of her matches.
Well, she had Kiana James.
She did, but they didn't, I don't recall them interfering all that much. Maybe sometimes, but I don't know. She seemed more of a legitimate wrestler than a sideshow, like a Chelsea Green or an Otis or a Tozawa. And again, I love the sideshows, but it's normal to see them get buried between victories. It's not normal to see a star of the future that you expect Julia to be to get buried the way she got buried in a minute and 59 seconds.
Yeah, it was awful. dumb. Again, fine. Lash Legend they want in the match. That's fine. Even though it still should have been Julia in that match. I think, if you go to that match, which I guess we'll talk about SummerSlam here in a minute, but did Lash Legend do anything that stood out in that match that required her being in the match?
She threw Tiffy Time around a couple times, threw her some ladders, so her size played into it. But I think...
You know who else they do that with is Rusev.
Yeah,
is she the female Rusev?
Julia is better suited for that type of a ladder match. There's a reason Nia Jax isn't in a lot of the ladder matches. Lash Legend is a more athletic, younger version of a Nia Jax. So I think, Julia probably would have been better in that match. But I think maybe they were trying to balance out some of the face versus heel wrestlers. Let me look this up real quick as a reminder. You had Chelsea Green, who's a face. Tiffany Stratton's a face. Charlotte Flair's a face. So you throw Julia in there. She's turned face recently. So that's a fourth face against Jade Cargill. So maybe that was their thought. Lash Legend made more sense in the match just to have another heel. Kind of balance out the...
it could be. And again, it's fine that Lash Legend was in the match. Just how she got to the match,
yes,
I just thought was not. That wasn't a good booking move. I didn't like it.
Okay. So anything else that you can think of for SmackDown?
I'm trying to remember SmackDown. So much has happened this week. Was there anything else? You have the thing up, right?
I don't have SmackDown up just yet. Fine. I had SummerSlam up. I knew I looked up Julia versus Lash Legend, but let me pull it up real quick. It doesn't take long.
There was a not LA Knight. Damian Priest and R-Truth defended their titles.
Oh yeah, we had the return
against the War Raiders, and it was title for title.
The Sons of Haku. That's what we were.
Oh yeah,
about.
The Sons of Haku. Yeah.
Yeah. So your boy Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga, they separated from Solo about a month or so ago. And one of the things I remember them saying that kind of caught me off guard the last time, or when they left Solo, one of the last times we saw them on TV was something along the lines of, "This is what the fathers want us to do," or this is alluding to. I was like, "Oh, are they going to join the bloodline?" Because there's been ties between the Tongans and the bloodline and all that. So I thought, is this their way? They're leaving Solo to go back to Roman Reigns. And last week on SmackDown, they came out and before they interfered, there was a promo with them, and they're bringing Haku back, who's one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, one of my favorite heels as a kid, and one of the known tough guys in all of wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. Tama Tonga definitely, but even Tala Tonga has shown signs that he has a place. Possibly once he gets better, he can be like a main event attraction. Because imagine if Tala Tonga, freshens up a little bit, gets more skill. Like, yes. I don't want to say he's not skilled, but however, you know what I mean? A little more practice in the ring. And then you have matches like Tala Tonga versus Obafemi or Braun Breaker or something like that. Just more big guys that can move in the ring. I think
Big Cass, you talked about on the show this week. Who is Big Cass going up against? Well, there you go. Tama Tonga is somebody, another big guy who moves well. It's always the tough, that's the one thing we brought that up in the past and changed subject real quick. It's like, we as wrestling fans, or maybe the WWE has to force us, we've got to stop looking at somebody losing a match as being buried. And I think that's where WWE has us right now. It's not necessarily us as fans, but going back when we were younger and even early adults, when we would watch Raw during the Attitude Era, The Rock and Stone Cold and Triple H, they beat each other in Mankind all the time. And I don't think we ever looked at them as being buried because they lost to another headliner, or even two mid-card guys losing. Last year they had the seven match run between Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. And after the fourth or fifth time, it got a little boring, but it did show like that type of back and forth between two guys can build a rivalry. It doesn't have to be somebody's buried because they lose once.
Right. And maybe I shouldn't say who gets buried, but at the same time, kind of like you alluded to in this WWE.
Right.
9 times out of 10, once a guy loses, he disappears for like a long period of time, or he comes back in goofy gimmicks, or he comes back jobbing to somebody else, or something like that.
Or he's an Otis or a Rusev or somebody who's just out there to eat
remember,
losses.
even Rusev was on a decent streak when he was doing stuff with Ethan Page. Yeah. The crowd was even getting behind him. And then all of a sudden, WWE's like, all right, that's enough. And then they have him out there losing to people like Javon Evans, or who just beat him? Was it Javon Evans?
Javon Evans has wrestled Rusev quite a few times. Yeah, so it might have been him. But no, I'm excited for that. I think, you've been hyped on Tama Tonga for a while and has really liked him. And I just kind of found them boring and so-so. But I think having somebody like Haku come back and the Sons of Haku, it gives them an identity, again, as one, Haku being one of the toughest wrestlers of all time. There's legendary stories about him backstage and on the road with other wrestlers. And they pick up that aura automatically. Yeah. Like, I'm hyped for this tag team more than I've been hyped for these guys since they came around, just because they have Haku. And I think that's, again, it gives them just an instant identity and credibility, and hope the WWE does something with it. Didn't bring a legend out of retirement just to have him manage a team that's going to eat L after L.
But, and last thing on this real quick is, you notice, I mentioned it to you, and it was kind of sad to see. Usually when a legend comes back, the crowd pops big for him, regardless of who it is, if they're a legend. Haku came back, and the crowd was like, pretty much, it seemed to me like they're like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Right? They didn't even know who this guy is. And now I don't expect a lot of the younger people to know who like Haku is and stuff like that. But, more seasoned people.
And that maybe he's been away from the WWE too long, because we saw that online. I posted some shorts on it, and we had some chat on our social media about it. And there was some fans who were excited to see him back, like I was, some of the older crowd. And there were some younger people like, who's Haku? What's this guy doing back? And who cares about him? And there were some arguments that broke out online about, go back and watch some old wrestling, that type of content, the old versus the young, and you just don't know. But there are fans out there who did recognize him, and they're as hyped as we are. So
yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited more for Tama Tonga and Tala Tonga to actually get a push. That's more what I'm excited for. But I'll take it. And now we just got to bring back the Pirate, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Bring back old Tongaloa.
Pirate Tongaloa. Bring him back. Put him back in there. They got rid of him at the wrong time, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if this hints at that. They're bringing him back.
I don't think.
It does seem like odd timing. Like this could have happened 6 months ago and maybe saved his career.
Yeah, could have. You could have just joked around and said JC Mateo was part of that and stuck him in there. But
right.
Well, anyway.
So, all righty, we're moving on past SmackDown. I'm looking at the rundown. There wasn't more that happened that night that I want to talk about, unless you want to talk about Rey Fenix and, defending against JD McDonough.
Good match. Not what I was going to talk about, but good match. That's where the War Raiders fought Priest and...
Yes. Yeah.
Now, they've been kind of hyping this match for the past couple weeks, right? And title versus title. Winner gets the other team's title. So you have the tag team champions in R-Truth and Damian Priest.
Right.
And then you have the AAA champions in the War Raiders, Eric and Ivar. And then they finally fight, and it goes to a no contest.
It just seemed like... I guess it makes sense, because are they really going to unify? They separated the titles. Why would they turn around and try and unify it with a third title that you never really see on TV? I know they're hyping up AAA. And actually, that's another topic we can talk about for a couple minutes.
Roman Reigns stuff, but
we'll talk about it at the end of Raw. But I know they're using SmackDown and Raw to try and hype up AAA with like I mentioned, Rey Fenix having a AAA title. Dominic had it for a while. Actually, Dominic still has one of the AAA titles
he wears
one. Around. Yeah, and he's so.
But I bet you he won't have that for much longer.
After the post you talked about. But yeah, they're really using the TV to try and push and hype up the AAA, is maybe trying to move it up to an NXT level show. But it did seem odd to have them have a unification match with belts that don't belong on the same show. Yes.
So it sounds like you're more in favor of the no contest, but just because unifying them wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Yes.
But the problem is, again, with WWE's thinking, that means they're going to set up another match, and eventually they will be unified. They're not just going to let they went to no contest and then drop the storyline. WWE doesn't work that way. They'll set up another match, maybe even at whatever the AAA PLE coming up is.
AAA Mania.
Yeah, it's at 2 nights. One's in Vegas or something, and one's somewhere in Mexico.
A triple tag match, something like that. Whoever wins gets both titles. I don't know. Maybe
they'll just put War Raiders against Priest and Truth again. Doesn't got to be a triple.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that.
And then the winner can go on to the Sons of Haku storyline.
They could do that at the upcoming Saturday's main event, or on a SmackDown, and do the Sons of Haku versus the War Raiders at AAA. They could turn it into 2 separate matches.
Yeah, they could. But yeah, I don't know. I guess and kind of like selfishly, I kind of want the belts off of Damian Priest and R-Truth.
They've had it for a while. It's another one of those goofy tag teams that you're really not behind. And even me, as much as I like R-Truth and all that, it's grown stale for a while. They're not really there's nobody. They're not wrestling really anybody. They're wrestling the War Raiders as the first real tag team they've wrestled in forever. The SmackDown tag team went from this SummerSlam last year. Wasn't it SummerSlam last year? They had that six tag team crazy match that we loved. And then now this year, there's nobody on SmackDown anymore. They got rid of all their tag teams.
Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do with that, but I kind of wanted to bring that up because I thought that was stupid too.
Yeah, but these unification of the titles, that's one of the reasons when we made our predictions for SummerSlam that I didn't really lean or even consider predicting Tiffany Stratton, because she's got the U.S. title, and it just didn't seem to make sense to give her an interim title while she's holding the U.S. title. Then you run into what title is she defending against too, and how do you separate the titles? And it just creates messes down the line.
Well, that does, yeah, and I agree with that. That's kind of like when Roman had both championships. But having the WWE Tag Team Championship and then the AAA Championship, they can just say whatever one they're defending on is the one that's up for grabs.
That makes a little bit more sense. Yeah, whatever show they're on.
If they're wrestling on AAA, then the AAA tag, whatever. It's a little easier to split, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So going on to SummerSlam Night 1, we had the real quick on a recap, Hell in a Cell match, the Undisputed Championship match, CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, the 6-women tag team match versus Fatal Influence and the Bella Twins, Gunther, Nick Aldis, the 6-man tag between the Usos and LA Knight, Solo Sikoa, and Royce Keys, and then Liv Morgan, Io Sky. Anything jump out at you there that you want to talk about?
I mean, Night 1 was kind of boring, Jeff. It
went very status quo. I don't think there were any major shocks. I was a little surprised the Usos lost, but it wasn't that shocking.
Yeah, and I mean, it makes more sense now that you know that they're pushing LA Knight
right, yes,
in the Roman Reigns storyline, which I was all for it. I like Jacob Fatu. I like the Usos, but I would rather see at this point right now LA Knight kind of get some momentum behind him and hopefully see a title here. But yeah, I mean, you had like the big match, which was Oba and Lesnar. The match itself wasn't even really. Did it need a Hell in a Cell for that match?
It didn't really need a cage. Again, we talked about that during our stream. That really, what can they do anymore to upset or outdo the Hell in a Cell matches of the past? I think that it's almost a match type they need to retire.
Yeah, or just. I mean, I know WWE is so scared to do it because they're PG, but I mean it's called Hell in a Cell. Make it violent. That's the point of the match, not just a normal wrestling match inside of a cage. Yeah, look at some of the old Brock Lesnar matches in Hell in a Cell. They were brutal.
Yes, I don't even recall them that many times mashing each other into the cage. Or back in the day, they used to rub their face back and forth across the cage. I expected with those two big brutes, they kept talking about their size and comparing their size. I thought for sure I would have put money down that they were going to, one of them was going to spear or body slam or press somebody through one of the cell panels.
Yeah.
And that didn't even happen. Like you said, it didn't even, other than it was a no DQ match and they used some tools and stuff under the ring and tables and chairs and whatnot.
And Lesnar peeled the mat up to expose the boards, and then Obafemi missed him with the move anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was pretty cool seeing Brock Lesnar pay homage to The Undertaker for breaking his streak by trying to end the match with a tombstone pile driver on the exposed boards. And then he did the Undertaker pin. That was pretty cool. And again, it paid. They were really playing up that Brock Lesnar ended the Undertaker streak, and then they really kept playing up that this was Brock Lesnar's streak. He had never lost in Hell in a Cell. So that storytelling there made sense. But yeah, well, looked a little odd when Obafemi picked Brock up for the Fall of Grace. We noticed Brock looked over like he knew he was in the wrong spot. And he was ready to fall on the boards. But
I heard, I don't know if this is true, I read it on the internet, that Brock Lesnar usually when he comes out doesn't wear elbow pads or anything when he wrestles, but he did for this match, supposedly because he knew he was going to take that bump on the wood.
Yep.
So he wanted to protect his elbows, and then he didn't get a hit anyway, because right after the match, he ripped him off and just threw him.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean,
the match was okay. I mean, I guess it served a purpose, but it was just kind of like proof that they just said, we're going to put it in Hell in a Cell just to make it seem better than it really was going to be.
Yeah, just to give it a little extra story and to have Brock's story. Now, I will give it, I'll have to go back and watch the sequence. Thinking about it, though, like, I'm glad, like, if he wasn't in position to slam him down, that they didn't do one of those fake shimmies to another spot of the ring to hit their spot perfectly. sometimes the match, you go with the flow of the match. And then maybe that's where Obafemi was. Maybe he was nervous. And maybe he just thought it would look silly if he shimmied over there and Brock Lesnar went with him and didn't fight him to get into position. So I'll give them a benefit of doubt that was just they were going with the flow of the match and it just looked they didn't want it to look awkward. So
yeah, it just sucks that would have been the only major spot of the match.
Yeah,
and he missed it. But what was the other one? CM Punk and Cody Rhodes.
CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes. The big thing there is the return of Randy Orton, which is setting up another.
We called it.
Yeah,
I mean,
you called it during I think your prediction that that you thought Randy was going to return and cost Cody, which he did.
Yeah. So I guess that's just going to set up those two. But then I guess where does Punk go?
But I mean, we got Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Gunther's still in that mix. So yeah,
I forgot Kevin Owens.
That's going to be those 5 are going to be 5, 6, whatever it is, are going to be CM Punk, Cody, Randy Orton, Gunther, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. Now 6-9. I think that's going to be fighting for that SmackDown Championship probably through WrestleMania. You know, they've got plenty of matches they can do with those guys, and mix of guys that we haven't seen wrestle that many times, especially with Kevin Owens being out the last year and a half.
Yeah, I think a Kevin Owens CM Punk build-up could be good if they do it right. Both guys can talk on the mic. Both guys are...
They're brawlers. They're both brawlers, strikers and brawlers, yeah.
So I think we could have some good matches out of that. I hope KO wins. I'd like to see KO with the title again.
He hasn't had it since I started watching wrestling again.
Yeah, he hasn't had it in a while.
Yeah. He had it back then. So something else that happened, one of the Bellas got injured.
Are we still on night 1 or are we on night 2?
We're still on night 1.
Okay.
I just know you brought this up the other night. It was, it's you never want anybody to get hurt, but so the Bella twins were supposed to wrestle for the tag team championships at WrestleMania, and Nikki Bella got hurt. Mm-hmm. So Paige filled in, and they won the championship. And then leading up to SummerSlam, the injured Nikki Bella came back. They had this 6-women tag against Fatal Influence, who had won the tag team championship from them, setting up a rematch. And then the Bellas turned on Paige, which was setting up, obviously, them turning against Paige, going heel, and then leading for them to probably go back after the tag team titles against the Fatal Influence. But now Brie Bella hurt her elbow or shoulder.
I think it was.
And Triple H I saw an interview with him after night 1 that said it was a pretty severe injury. She's most likely going to miss significant time, and they were hoping for the best. I've not seen any updates on her injury. I'll do a quick look up, see if anything came out recently. But
yeah, I don't. Didn't look good. I mean, she was holding it. It's hard to tell in wrestling if they're being serious or not, because generally, if someone gets hurt bad enough, they kind of leave or something like that, or you see the referees or the medical team kind of tending to them. But
Brie Bella has a broken shoulder blade.
She's out for a while.
She was hospitalized for scans after the match and is expected to be sidelined indefinitely. So,
how do you break your shoulder blade?
Did she take? I'd have to go again and rewatch the match. It took the injury occurred outside the ring when opponent JC Jane hit a cannonball senton move, sending Brie's right shoulder hard into the steel steps.
Dang.
Despite being in severe pain, Brie utilized an adrenaline surge to finish the bout. So she even participated briefly in the post-match heel turn where she and Nikki attacked Paige. So that's...
Well, I guess
that turn on Paige kind of backfired because they could have used her
to
continue to fill in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, now they really can't go back on that. I'm sure they'll try to figure it out, but they can't really go back on that one. No.
Yeah, that's kind of hard.
You think normally they're pretty good with calling like audibles in the middle of the thing. If they would have saw she got hurt, they could have just said, "Don't do the beatdown.
Don't do the return." But yeah, maybe she wasn't. Maybe she had hoped for the best. Like you might feel it, and maybe she didn't know it was broken. She could have been like hoping it's not broken. Why swerve in the middle of the match unless I know, hey, I can't walk, I can't get up.
Right. Yeah, it just sucks.
But yeah, night 1, compared to night 2, we'll talk about here in a couple of minutes, was kind of pretty straightforward. Not many surprises, interactions, other than Randy returning was their big surprise, and
everybody knew that was coming.
Anticipated that, yes.
Yeah.
So
night 1 was kind of a dud, in my opinion.
Moving on to night 2, we'll have a little bit more to talk about with the opening match. Nick Aldis made us do a double, triple, quadruple take. He faked us out by adding someone to the match And it ended up being Gunther. I'm like, okay, that's surprising.
Oh yeah, I guess we didn't talk about Gunther and Aldis.
Oh, do you really want to talk about Gunther and Aldis?
I think actually that Aldis being as good as he was in the ring, to me, was more of a shock than Randy Orton coming back.
Yeah.
Not that I expected Aldis to be bad, but he just hasn't wrestled in
his first match in 3-4 years. He's been the SmackDown GM for forever. This was his first televised match with WWE.
And when Gunther could have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting there, he might have been helping carrying him through a little bit, but
nothing jumped out at camera. He didn't look terrible. We never looked like he missed any spots, or we didn't look like, hey, Gunther's doing this all himself. He didn't look like. He looked like he belonged wrestling one of the premier talents in the WWE in Gunther anyway.
Yeah, I was actually when was it? It must have been at the end of night one or during night one after that match. He put in his resignation and Triple H said, "You're reinstated as the GM."
Yes. Yeah.
I was actually kind of bummed. I wanted him to say, "You're reinstated as an active competitor."
Right. I want you to keep wrestling.
Yeah, I would have been happier with that. But anyway, that kind of leads into your night two.
Yeah. So night two starts out. They bring down Sami Zayn and Finn Balor. They were supposed to be a number one contender match. Nick Aldis interrupts and says he's adding a contender, and he sends out Gunther, which was, I guess, when we first saw it and heard that, our thoughts immediately went to Gunther because he wanted to be in that match. Mm-hmm. And then he said, "That's not it. I'm adding somebody else." And then we had the return to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, broke his neck or his back?
He did something to his spine, had some surgery there.
In a match with Cody Rhodes where they faked an injury. He injured Randy Orton, and then they were doing some spot off the table, and Kevin Owens landed on a ladder or something like that and hurt his neck on the table or ladder, and he's been out for 1.5 years.
But yeah, two things stood out to me there, right? First, the pop that Kevin Owens got was incredible.
Yes.
That was probably louder than anything I heard at all in night one. And number two, he kind of we just got done saying with Aldis, he looked good in the ring.
Yeah, really early on.
He didn't look rusty. He was doing his crazy flips off the ropes. He didn't look like he was too worried about having a broken neck anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, really early in the match, we were caught off guard. Like 5 minutes in, he did a swanton dive off the top rope, outside the ring, and landed on the wrestlers. And yeah, he probably wanted to get that out of the way early just to test his legs and see how everything felt. But that was one big. Started off with not only Kevin Owens returning, but him winning that night was just absolutely huge. It just completely caught us off guard.
Yeah, you know who I feel the most bad for?
Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Finn Balor, just, if you're not aware, it was he won his first and only heavyweight championship was 10 years earlier at SummerSlam. I think he was actually the first Universal champion. He won that in a match against Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins did a buckle bomb during the match, which separated or broke his shoulder blade, but something similar to what the Bella's going through right now. And he had to vacate the title the very next night. So he had a one-day champion run 10 years ago. I thought for sure that timing, that 10-year anniversary would lead WWE into giving him the win that night.
Can we talk about that? Have we talked about that?
We've talked about it briefly, but I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast where we can air our thoughts. Go ahead.
About, what I'm about to talk about?
Yeah, the Rhea Ripley?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Finn Balor gets hurt, has the title, and has to relinquish the title the next day because he's hurt. They make him even come out and do a thing in front of the crowd that says, "I have to let this go because I got hurt," right? But then Rhea Ripley gets hurt. She's been out for a while. But do they strip Rhea Ripley of the title, Jeff?
No, they did not.
They just made a whole new title for people to compete until Rhea Ripley comes back, and then they're going to do a unification match. Why not just take Rhea Ripley's title and have them fight for the actual title, and then have Rhea Ripley fight for
challenge when she comes back? With
the whole thing that they were doing with Seth Rollins, I never lost my title. They could use that storyline. They love it. They could use it again. Because in theory, Finn Balor never lost his title either.
Correct.
And, they even played into that a little bit when was it on SmackDown. Finn Balor gave his promo.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And he was talking about, I never lost my title. I had to do this. So they were kind of using that as part of the storyline. But then one of their main matches on SummerSlam, which was the next day, they have the exact opposite thing happening.
Yes. It didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. I had a thought process. Later last year, this time last year, I know it was a longer absence, but Naomi gave up her title because she was having a baby. Why couldn't she have kept her title? They named an interim title for that year, similar instance. Well, that's where you run into, because I think Rhea ended up winning Naomi's title. I think that's the same title. No, I don't know, either way. But say Naomi gave it up. She's an interim title. And then their replacement gets hurt, and they name her an interim, and then you have 5 interim titles out there. Yeah,
you just have a million interim.
Because, so it's just, I mean, the history in the WWE is either one, they make up an excuse why they're not wrestling, and they let them keep the title, or they strip them of the title, and they give them a rematch when they came back. Again, like they just did with Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns.
Yep.
Seth Rollins wanted a title shot against Roman Reigns because it was a title he never lost. So it happened less than a year ago in the WWE.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I don't think it's going to hurt anything if they say, sorry, Rhea, we're going to strip you the title. Basically, in my opinion, if you can't compete, then you can't have the title, right? Yes, it's a bummer she got hurt. Should she be the champion? Absolutely. Not saying any of that, but she can't defend it right now. So give it to somebody else who can. Give someone else a title run. And then when she comes back, she can fight for it, which is basically what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a built-in storyline. So, when they comes back, if it's Chelsea Green or whoever has that title, the next major PLE they're going to have is going to be Rhea Ripley versus that person.
Yeah.
So it's the same way whether you strip her or you call it interim or whatever you do.
Yeah, the ending is still the same, but it just looks weird when you do it for some people and not the others.
Yeah, it's a confliction, conflicting. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So
anyway, what else? What else on night 2, Jeff?
Night 2. So that was the first surprise.
Because night 2 was considerably better than night 1.
The second surprise was the 5-women ladder match, which we were just completely blown away when Chelsea Green won. We were so happy. Everybody, you want to talk about a pop. That stadium went absolutely nuts, and the internet went absolutely crazy when Chelsea Green won that ladder match.
Yeah, but like we said on the main event, Jeff, how long is this run going to last?
Yeah.
I really feel like we have a Sami Zayn situation on our hands here. I hope I am wrong, but I can see her dropping this title within the next 2 weeks.
So she won it Sunday at SummerSlam. Mm-hmm. So the next SmackDown would be 5 days. SmackDown after that would be 12 days. So, does she lose it at a SmackDown? And is it over, or do you give her over under 9 days?
I'll give her over 9 days, but I'm going to give her under 21 days.
So, you think she loses it on a SmackDown before the next, because that was going to be my next question, is does she maintain it until Sunday night's main event?
I hope
Sunday,
she does.
September 6th.
I hope so. I hope she holds it past that.
Yes.
But I got a bad feeling.
And again, I think this is something it would be very weird for the WWE to pull that right after doing that to Sami Zayn.
But it's a very WWE thing to do.
If it works, why fix, if it works, why don't fix it or whatever it's saying.
For ratings and money and stuff like that, is CM Punk better title holder than Sami Zayn? Absolutely. But you didn't have to do it like that. You could have gave it to CM Punk 2 months down the line, right? I guess they wanted CM Punk to be the champion going into SummerSlam. But then in that case, you shouldn't have gave Sami Zayn the title to begin with. Go back to your old plans or whatever it was that he's going to win it at WrestleMania next year.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just very strange.
So that wasn't, I was wrong. That wasn't the second surprise of the night. That was the third surprise of the night.
Oh.
Well, the second surprise of the night happened in the second match. I had my match order out of mind, but the Baron Corbin defeating Trick Williams for the U.S. Championship in his first match back in the WWE.
Again, that part of it's not shocking. Look at Sol Ruka. Look at, we talked about this on a different main event.
Jake Cargill won hers pretty early. The Motor City Machine Guns won
their first night. They won it. So that part of it's not so shocking. It's not so shocking. Baron Corbin's had the title before. Again, I like Baron Corbin. Is he one of my favorite wrestlers? I don't know. But I like him as a wrestler. I think he's good. I think he gets too much hate for how much work and everything that he puts in.
Yeah. But I was caught off guard. A couple of reasons. One, Baron Corbin just came back. I'd hope they wouldn't do it again. It was at a major PLE. They just created that brand new white feather boa championship for Trick Williams. So I thought for sure they'd at least, why pay the money for the super expensive, or I don't know, maybe it's not expensive, but this new belt,
It was
just to have them turn
I think
around
it was
and lose it.
$800. Well, you're talking about for them to pay for it.
Yes,
Well, the reason they did it is because that night they put it up on WWE Shop for sale for like $800 or $700 or something like that. Guarantee they sold a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, how often do championships sell, right? I mean, we bought a couple of them, but I imagine if you have a new one, it probably sells really quick.
Yeah, there are people out there who want to buy all of them, who collect them all like it's a Pokemon or something.
And then there's really no need for it anymore. So take it away from them and give it back to Baron Corbin.
Yeah.
Or give it to Baron Corbin.
Yeah, and again, one of the things we've asked for now on this channel is spontaneity. And why we had talked about how night one went pretty by the books. A lot of our predictions on the Discord, a lot of people got really high scores with night one because all the match outcomes, there were no real surprises there. And in night two, we had 3, which you would consider upsets.
Yeah.
Considering 2 of the people in the first match weren't even in the match.
Yeah.
And
one of them won.
Yeah, were upsets. So that was good spontaneity on the WWE that really kicked night 2 off with a bang.
Yeah. And real quick, I did hear that Trick Williams, I mentioned this again on our main event on Tuesday or Wednesdays on our YouTube channel, that Trick Williams is rumored to win Money in the Bank, which is part of the reason they took the belt off him. So other people could fight for the belt while he begins his ascension up to the main event scene.
Which makes sense because he does have the size, mic skills, and ability to be on that scene. I thought we'd see a little bit longer rivalry between him and Carmelo Hayes before he dropped the U.S. heavyweight title.
Unless maybe Carmelo Hayes now beats Baron Corbin, which then can reset up a different match later on down the road between Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams.
Right. Yeah. So, but if Trick Williams is going to win Money in the Bank, he's going to have that briefcase. And I hope we don't have an Austin Theory instance where somebody uses a cash in on a U.S. title instead of one of the main titles.
That's the way things are going. They're going to cash in for like the Intercontinental Champion in AAA.
They're going to cash in for the AAA Championship because they want to promote that show again.
Yep.
The next one, I'm just going to let you complain for about 5-10 minutes while I go fill up my water. But what did you think about the Human Money's on a Pole match?
Worst match I've ever seen in my life. Completely a waste of time. This match didn't belong on anything, not even regular TV. The Danhausen shtick is getting old. They need to figure out something else to do there. I get it. That's all his character really is. But dragging people down, like I complained when they did the Obafemi thing a few weeks ago. Dominic Mysterio at one time was the future.
Yes. Yeah.
Now he's doing Human Money in a pole matches. And yes, we mentioned it. He got a lot of heat for putting up that post on X of the Marshawn Lynch just saying, I'm here so I don't get fired thing that Marshawn Lynch did. That's his name.
Yeah.
I get it. I would be pissed too if I was him. I'd be super upset, not happy about it. This guy is supposed to be their champion of their newest thing, AAA, their top champion.
And the greatest luchador of all time.
He's losing goofy things to little people painted up like Danhausen. I know a couple of those guys are from AAA, and it was dumb. It was just dumb.
As somebody who likes the Danhausen gimmick, I want more out of it, or I don't want more. I want different out of it. Like you said, it's just been the same gimmick since he came in, and like the little house. It's like it came down to I was joking around with my kids earlier in the day, and we were where they were making their predictions and everything, and they asked me what I thought, and I told them exactly what's gonna happen. And they're like, what? I go, Dominic's gonna be climbing the corner to get the money off the pole. Fireworks are gonna go off, hit him in the butt. He's gonna fall down, and Danhausen's gonna win. And that's exactly how the match ended. You knew that's all they've done with him.
Every single match.
Curse people in other ways. It doesn't always have to be pyro going off unexpectedly. Have something else happen. I don't know.
I think the WWE found something when Danhausen first started getting popular when he was with WWE. They found something. They're like, we got the lightning in a bottle, right? So they're just cranking it out the much as they can, and they don't know what to do with it from here. I think they're kind of stuck. They don't want to lose the money that Danhausen's generating for them, but they don't know how to freshen it up and make it different. So they're going to end up losing it anyway. So I think they just need to take a chance and change that whole thing up.
Yeah, like I said, I still like the goofiness. There's still a place for it in wrestling for fans like me, not necessarily fans like you, but even I'm getting bored seeing the same thing week after week, month after month.
I like funny stuff. I don't like goofy stuff.
Yeah. No. So next up, Intercontinental Championship match. Chad Gable finally wins his singles title, his Intercontinental Championship at home in Minneapolis. Thoughts?
I think I was okay with that. I always wanted to see Chad Gable win. I'm a big Penta fan, so it kind of hurt when he lost, but it makes sense. Yeah. I was okay with it. I'm kind of getting sick of, again, this is just me, and I know people love it, but when these guys fight, whether it's Penta and Chad Gable or other people or whatever, and you saw it again later on, which we'll talk about, but after the match, they hug each other and he puts the belt on them. Okay, first time here, there is fine, but it just seems like that's what all these matches are now. Well, the show of respect stuff.
Yeah, we talked about that a week or so ago, that WWE may have a heel problem, that a lot of these matches at SummerSlam were face versus face.
Yeah.
Where when a face beats a heel, the heel can either attack them or can leave and pout and go cry back, or if the heel beats the face, he can mock him or whatever. Well, when you have face versus face, it's like a tennis match or whatever. You're going to walk up and you're going to shake hands.
Yeah, it's just super weird. I know they do that kind of stuff in UFC, but that's different. That's real combat. It kind of gets tiring for me just to see them after. Okay, we just had a decent match. Let's hug it out. You won the champion. Even if I was in any sport, we'll use wrestling, so that's what we're talking about, and I was supposed to be a good guy, and I lost my belt. I don't care if I'm a good guy. I'm not going to be happy I lost my belt.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to obviously start swinging chairs at the other guy, but my first thing isn't going to be, let me go hug this guy and shake his hand. Yeah. And
I can save the hug for backstage. I can let you have your moment in the ring.
Have your moment. Let me cool down.
Yes.
And then that's different. But it's like, oh, man, you just beat me. Let's hug it out, And it's kind of weird. I don't know. But what are you going to do with that, I guess?
So I've got a take here. I've loved Chad Gable for the last few years. I loved him in Alpha Academy. I loved him as El Grande Americano and all that stuff. I'm bored of him now. Like, he came out on Raw last night, and I was kind of excited, but then he grabbed the mic and he started talking, and he's just not that good at straight talk. He's better when he's being goofy or silly or, playing up goofy angles or having catchy catchphrases. So
I think that stuff works because everyone knows him as being so serious all the time, right? He wasn't. Up until then, he wasn't doing a whole lot of goofy stuff.
Yeah, maybe I missed all that. But since when I started watching wrestling, he was in Alpha Academy.
Yeah, I think most people wanted him to win because he's been in WWE so long. He's done all the goofy, stupid crap they've asked him to do, and he's probably the best pure wrestler on the roster.
Right.
Especially now that Lesnar's done.
I just kept hoping that
should have a title.
That Otis and Tozawa would come out and celebrate him, and they would invite him back to Alpha Academy, and some fun stuff would start happening. But no, I'm happy for him. I just I was just disinterested listening to him talk on Raw last night. His new music is terrible. Nobody wants to clap along. Nobody wants to sing along.
That's another thing. What is with all the Javon Evans does it too? Why is everyone trying to get the crowd to clap along? Ever since Jey Uso had the Yeet thing, that went crazy, and the crowd loves to do it. Then Montez Ford doing his little double fist pump thing in the air.
The War Raiders.
Yeah, the War Raiders. Well, the War Raiders did that for a while. They were probably before, but
nobody ever catches on. It doesn't catch on.
And then Javon Evans has the thing where he's doing some goofy. I know you can't see me on a podcast. He's got a
couple different phrases he does. I'm bouncy. I'm going outside.
But I'm talking about just the specific things with the crowd with their hands.
Yes.
He tries to get the crowd, and then Joe Hendry does stuff with the crowd, trying to get them to wave their hands. It's like every wrestler now has a different thing that they try to get the crowd to wave their hands with them to do.
When you mentioned it, the WWE caught lightning in a bottle with Jey Uso going solo, having his new music, and it just taking off, which is why they gave him the championship. So they want. We've talked about this with wrestlers having auras, gimmicks, characters, personality. The music goes into that. And someone like Obafemi, not that he wouldn't have been good without it, but once he started coming out, everybody loved his music. They loved the strut. It's part of the aura.
Oh, yeah.
And once the crowd's into it, the WWE is going to take advantage of that. So if they want to push someone like, if Chad Gable wants to get over and they give him new music, he's got to hope that it catches on with the crowd. And how does he help again, I keep saying the wrong word. How does he help it? Oh yeah, that's what I want to use, help. How does he help it get over is by trying to get the crowd to clap or sing along with it. Because if you get 50 people clapping, then 100 people clap, then the whole stadium's clapping. And then if you're watching it on TV and you see, okay, I'm supposed to clap along the Chad Gable's music. When I go to my next wrestling event, I'm going to clap along the Chase. And then it builds
Snowballs
that up.
in,
And then if people are into him, they're going to start buying his t-shirts, and it leads into the merchandise sales, a little bit of everything.
I know. I just don't know why they find one thing that works for one guy and then just tries to use that on every single guy after that. Can't guys just have different things?
I mean, Penta
Obo's got the strut.
Penta has the Theodore Miro wherever he does it, and he
completely
does the
different.
symbol with the, it's
until next Monday. Otis is going to come out doing it, but he's going to use different words, and it's going to be the same thing.
They're repetition, or what is that? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Just throw that out there. So.
But not when it's scripted.
Yeah, I bet they're trying to make something work. They're just trying to get over with the crowd. So
anyway, let's continue. We're running long.
Yeah, last match of the night. You give quick thoughts on Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins. Did it live up to the hype for you? Did you enjoy the match?
Well, I'll start with this, Jeff. When it first started, I remember looking at you because we did it here. We did a live stream for it on our YouTube channel at WrestleStop. And I looked at you and I kept saying, are they moving really slow?
Yeah.
It just seemed like neither guy was putting in a lot of effort. Now, don't blow me up. Hear me out. It just did it not seem like that?
We talked about it because our audio was about 5 to 10 seconds behind the video when we were streaming. So we thought too, is the video lagging, or is there something wrong with our stream? And we paid closer attention, and there were no glitches or glitter. They were. So we mentioned they do seem to be pulling their punches. They seem to be running at 3/4 speed. And we theorized that maybe this is going to be a long match, and these are older guys and they're saving it. And I did look up the stats. The match ended up being 33 minutes.
Yeah.
Which was 4 minutes longer than the CM Punk Cody Rhodes match from the night before. It did end up being the longest match of the weekend.
Yeah. And as the match went on, that kind of seemed like it started coming true a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And because it was going to be a longer match. So, I'll just get to the point. I don't know what my point really was, but it just seemed like when the match started, I was kind of scared. I was scared that the match was going to be this kind of like a slow, drawn out, boring fest. Ended up being by far the best match of the weekend.
Yeah.
Probably the best match. I'd say top 3 or 4 best match of the year. The only match off the top of my head I can think of that would be better than that was the Mask vs. Mask match in AAA.
Yes.
But that was just top of my head. There might be a couple others that are better, but it was definitely up in that area. I think it was a great match, great storytelling, great everything.
Yep.
I like that Roman won. I guess I like that he won clean. I know that you're a big fan of that.
Well, that's the story they've been telling, and they specifically said it during the SummerSlam match and on Monday Night Raw. So I was going to say that was the 2 things I liked about it. There were several things I liked about it, but there were 2 instances of long-term storytelling. Obviously, everything that's been going on with the Shield, and then during the match, Roman Reigns went to pick up the chair to hit Seth with it. It almost seems like Seth set it up for him because he knew that's always his downfall, and Roman Reigns threw it aside. So that was his conquering getting the monkey off his back. I'm going to win clean. I don't need to cheat. I don't need outside interference. I don't need to punish him. I just need to beat him.
Yeah.
And he beat him. And then at the end of the match, they reunited as the Shield.
So I was going to say they
dropped the mask down between them. And was that a Johnny Moxley's mask? Did he wear that type of mask?
Oh, they all did, I think.
Okay. So I seen people say they put that between them, kind of to signify the missing
maybe
third member.
Did. Yeah, maybe. I know they did a lot. John Moxley used to do a lot of weird like shimmy type things in the ring when he would. So I saw Seth Rollins doing a little bit of that. I think Roman Reigns did something in the ring that John Moxley used to do.
Yeah, I think they were using some of his moves and everything too.
Which was a cool call out.
Yeah.
Without saying his name because he is an AEW talent now.
Yeah.
But I know there were people holding on hope that maybe something happened, and Tony Khan over at AEW were like, maybe they're going to let him come over, right? But no, I think it was a great match.
Yeah,
I did enjoy that match.
Yeah, but again, the WWE continues to prove that now in this new version of Roman Reigns, whether he's a heel, he's a face, he's somewhere in between. he's doing on his own. He doesn't need the bloodline anymore. He's going to win these victories on his own, and it just truly establishes himself as a true champion that, unlike what LA Knight says, he can do it on his own, and he can do it without his brothers and his cousins.
Yeah, and I think that actually led into the great thing on Monday where LA Knight called that out. Congratulations winning on your own. You didn't beat me on your own.
Right. Yeah, so we can move on to Monday Night Raw. I know you were excited about that. Why don't you talk about, LA Knight, Roman Reigns, and where you think they're going from there?
I think, like the rumors are true. I think it's going to happen at Money in the Bank, which unfortunately for LA Knight means he's not winning Money in the Bank because he'll be in the title match then.
Well, he won't need the briefcase.
Yeah, I guess he won't need the briefcase.
Title match.
Hopefully that means a shock LA Knight win. Maybe after SummerSlam Night 2, WWE's like, hey, let's do more of this shock stuff, and they give LA Knight that bridge.
Yeah, as we talked about on our show this week, that you convinced me that LA Knight deserves a title run, if only to serve as a bridge to beat Roman Reigns, which kind of wraps up their storyline. He has been cheated a few times in matches against Roman Reigns, so maybe he cheats this time, which I like that. Roman tries to win clean, he can't do it, but the only way LA Knight wins is to cheat. And then he serves as a bridge to maybe pass the title on to a younger talent like an Obafemi. And then maybe we have Roman versus Obafemi for the title the opposite way we expected at WrestleMania.
Yeah. You know what I just thought of? LA Knight versus Roman Reigns. Solo Sikoa comes out and costs Roman the match.
Yes.
Because, LA Knight and Solo are buddies.
Have been buddies now, yeah.
So that kind of makes sense to me.
You heard it here first. Nostradamus. Let's write it down. Write down the prediction. See what happens.
But no, I think I'm good with it.
Alrighty. Anything else on Raw you want to discuss? I know we were upset that Julia got buried on Friday.
Another one of my favorites, Joe Hendry. Not really one of my favorites. I do like Joe Hendry.
You were on the Joe Hendry wagon well before I was. So
that's again going back to goofy or funny. That's the funny I like. Probably does lean a little farther on the goofy side lately because he's been doing a lot of stuff with Danhausen, go figure. But I mean, real quick, that Human Money's on the Pole is like the worst rated match of all time. You know what the second worst thing is?
What's that?
Their concert they had the week before. Danhausen now owns the bottom two.
Yeah, but that was probably Joe Hendry's worst concert that I've seen in wrestling.
Drop the whole concert thing, but.
Yeah, it's another guy. They brought him in from TNA because he was super popular, but they don't seem to know how to take advantage of his gimmick. They're afraid to run back what TNA did, or they just don't know what to do.
I mean, it's one of those things where in no world did I expect him to beat Braun Breaker unless someone was going to interfere. Someone came out and attacked Braun Breaker or something like that, right? And that's the only way I saw Joe Hendry winning that match. But for it to be 2 minutes long, and a minute of it was just him staring down the ramp waiting for Obafemi.
Yeah. Joe Hendry had no offense really in the match. Mm-hmm. He wisely leapfrogged Braun Breaker's spear attempt outside the ring, but it just led to Braun Breaker going back in the ring and just absolutely crushing Joe Hendry after he beat up on Austin Theory for a few minutes.
Yeah, stupid.
So
I don't remember what else happened.
It was a lot of Raw was a lot of the younger talent, and again they're setting up the rivalry we talked about on the other show with. Liv, Becky, Stephanie Vaquer, Javon Evans, and Ethan Page. Again, I think they put on one of the best Raw matches I've seen in a long time.
Man.
But that got interfered with by Big Cass, came back and attacked Javon Evans.
But at least that happened after the match, though, right? I think the match ended.
Yeah, the match
Javon
ended.
Evans
that was
won,
after. So
then Big Cass came out.
Javon Evans hit his big OG cutter off the rope. And then,
you know what? WWE should bottle whatever they're giving their wrestlers because Big Cass is a big boy.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's his name, Big Cass, but that's just not. It doesn't even look human.
Yeah, no. And then, of course, there was we talked a little bit again on our show, but the stare down between Oba and Brock. Any more comments there? Where do you expect that to go?
They're the future.
Are they going to build into that, or are they just teasing this? Is this more long-term selling?
I really hope that's long-term.
That's the future.
I hope that's like a future. The two top guys going back and forth, Rock, Stone Cold. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, whoever, Hogan, Warrior. That is what Braun Breaker and Obafemi is.
5-10 years.
Yeah.
They need to build their aura separately before they clash.
Yeah. Because that would be like a mega fight. Once they're both at the very top, everyone's just begging to see that match. And you could even slip Jacob Fatu in there because I would like to see Fatu against either one of those guys.
Yeah, I can see that matchup. They, Obafemi or uses a Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu is the type of beast you beat to keep elevating yourself. Yeah. So, any thoughts on the Gable and Penta teaming up against Mysterio?
I'm curious what they're going to do with
McDonough.
Penta because, you had mentioned it and that you made me a believer that Penta losing his title to Chad Gable, WWE trying to rebuild their tag team division. This is the perfect opportunity for WWE to reunite the Lucha Brothers, Rey Fenix and Penta, to go on a tag team run.
Yeah, you had asked on it what it does for Penta to lose to Chad Gable. While it helps Gable, what are they doing for Penta? Because he's one of the most over wrestlers right now. And I just theorized maybe the tag team match with his brother. And when I saw that last night, I was like, well, here's Penta in a tag match. Are they building
Well,
toward
see, I was going the other way.
Okay.
Yes, here's Penta in a tag match, but not with Rey Fenix.
Oh. But he could come out and say, hey, I was in a tag match with Chad Gable this week. They could use that as a storyline. I enjoyed the tag team, but my brother's my perfect tag team. Why don't I go to him and try and,
What if they said, Chad Gable, hey, I would love to, but I can't tonight. I won. I have, I don't know, they can make up whatever it is. There's better writers out there than me.
Yeah.
He can't wrestle for whatever reason. And then they're like, well, find yourself an opponent, one of those kind. They love those angles.
Yes.
And then his opponent or his partner is Rey Fenix.
Yes.
That would have been better than.
Yeah, than last night. Maybe maybe they'll run it back. Yeah, like next week and Chad Gable will get hurt or something. And they can do that. That's the option is still there, except for I think Rey Fenix is normally on SmackDown. But the option is there. It popped into my head when I saw the tag match last night. So fingers crossed you get what you want. And we get a Lucha Brothers, right? That's what they were known as. So, and then the show ended with a Royce Keys versus Jacob Fatu, and
Royce Keys, keep in mind, is a SmackDown competitor, main eventing Raw.
Yeah, so they're more of that crossover. They seem to be doing away more as time goes on.
But they won't admit it.
They didn't do a draft this year. Their stars are moving between Raw and SmackDown on a more than in the last 5 years that I've been watching wrestling again. So, but what do you think of the match and particularly the ending where just Jacob Fatu destroyed Royce Keys and Roman Reigns came out and
just nodded
to him?
I think it was very good for Jacob Fatu because he was, I've been talking about it. Ever since he lost to Roman, he's kind of just been doing nothing. Yeah. He wasn't the same guy. He just kind of very subdued in the back. I know some people said he was injured. And I knew he was injured, but I thought by then he was kind of healed back up. So to see him kind of go on a tear there and completely destroy Keys is great. However, what does that do to Keys now? Yeah. This is one of those things where, yes, one loss doesn't completely bury you, but he got destroyed.
He did. He was bleeding, and
his mouth was bleeding everywhere. It was all over his arms.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was some sort of a stunt, basically to make it look like Jacob Fatu busted something up in turn. So maybe they write him off for a bit.
Maybe they write him off. Yeah.
But it was a big guy. I'm more interested in the Roman coming out and looking at Jacob and acknowledging him and nodding at him and like giving him a heads up, like good job, like. We've been debating something else we've talked about the last couple of weeks, but not really in depth. Is Roman a face or a heel right now, or is he in the middle? But that's a heel move right there.
I read, again, I did a lot of reading this week, Jeff. Believe it or not, I can read a little bit more than like 2 words at a time.
Yes, sir. Prepping for the show.
I read that internally, WWE has lists. They have a heel list and they have a face list, a baby face list. And then they have like who their top heel is, who their top baby face is. Roman is listed on their face list.
Okay.
The rest of the bloodline is listed on the heel side.
So I can see Jacob leaning heel, but not necessarily the Usos.
How can they all be part of the same faction, but part of them be heels and part of them be faces?
Well, what's heel about the Usos?
Oh, Jey Uso's been doing.
I guess he's been more. He's been tilting lately. He's been a little grimier, but. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. But yeah, it just seems to be like he's kind of fluctuating in the middle right now. I would say someone like we've talked before, LA Knight doesn't really seem to be, while he's over with the crowd, he's not afraid to cheat. He's not afraid to get a little dirty and grimy. He's not afraid to like be in the middle.
I would still put LA Knight probably more on a face side than a heel side, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah. So So what do you think they're doing with Fatu? I mean, other than serving as Roman, is he just going to play Roman's bodyguard? Or are they going to, he took out who he's been fighting with in Royce Keys. Has Royce Keys come back from this, or is this a way to write him off? And what are they doing with Fatu going forward?
I'm guessing they're writing Royce Keys off TV for a little while. That's the only thing I could think of. Why they would just have him get completely obliterated like that. But as far as Fatu, like I mentioned, maybe Solo helps LA Knight win the title. But then I kind of forgot Jacob's still floating around there. Yeah. So if Solo Sikoa comes out, Jacob's going to come running out. So unless they revisit that, Sikoa versus Fatu, I don't know, because there's really no other big guys that are currently not doing anything.
That might be a conversation for next week after we see what happens on SmackDown and Raw. So it's up in the air though. So. All right, well, that's the going on in wrestling this weekend. And anything last minute things you want to take or anything on your mind you didn't get off? I know you watch a little bit more sometimes AEW or UFC or anything else interesting you want to discuss right now.
Had a lot going on this week, so I really haven't had a chance to catch up on some of that stuff. Only thing I can really think of is our stock exchange launched on our Discord. You can get the link for that down below in the description somewhere. Yes, sir. And it was just a crazy 4 days of wrestling.
Yes, it was great. I enjoyed it. It is funny how just watching wrestling and even the live streaming during it, like it's fun. It's fun to do. It's fun interacting. We had some new fans join the Discord and chat a little bit with us, but it was it's a lot to be on mental energy or trying to pay attention. I'm a fan of wrestling first and foremost, but I'm using mental energy to try and talk about when I just want to watch the match. So
and try not to be too much on one side, right? I don't want to be a crazy fanboy Mark, but at the same time I don't want to be a guy who just hates everything.
Yes.
So I know which way I tend to lean.
Yep. But that's why we work well together. I'm the crazy fanboy and you're you want everything perfect. So
so I don't know. But that's it. That's episode 2. Just over an hour it looks like. Maybe after I cut it down it might be a little bit shorter, but this one was a lot more heavy. I think a lot more wrestling heavy. I think maybe episode 3, Jeff, we should find something a little more in the middle.
Yeah, there was just a lot to talk about. Next week, we'll only be talking about Raw and SmackDown. We won't have 2 nights of SummerSlam. So
yeah, that's true. That's fair. But yeah, that's about it. Thanks everybody for listening. Make sure you give us a like, if whatever you're listening on, Apple, Amazon, whatever. Give us a 5-star review, hopefully, and leave a little comment down below. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Or if you want to watch us again, you can watch what we just did. That'll be on YouTube, on our YouTube channel at WrestleStop. And Discord links down below. I ain't got nothing else, Jeff. You got anything?
No, that's it. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks. Bye.